there, Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed, and today we're going to do a lesson that I don't know if I would necessarily say it's blues, but it's kind of sort of blues, folk, classic rock-ish. I want to talk about a chord shape, really, and kind of what set me off on this is the song "The Weight" by the band, and there's kind of a cool little intro to that song, and I was sort of messing around, you know. It's kind of like, and I'm going to show it to you in just a second. But what's interesting is that I thought, oh, I could play it there, or I could play it, you know, in other places. And it didn't occur to me to play it up here. It didn't occur to me to play it up there until I actually saw Robbie Robertson on YouTube play it there. And I went, oh, that would be another great place to play it. Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of people sort of, you know, like to play, I'll say this sort of chordal, I call it Little Wing style playing because that's the first place I heard it. But obviously it's used on the intro to "The Weight." It's not an uncommon way to play. And it has to do with taking a chord and knowing where you could sort of make some subtle modifications to get these little melodies to come out. And so I thought, you know, one of the best places to start with that is with a C-shaped chord. Now you could do it with a you know, an A chord. There's ways to modify basically all of the open positions: the E, the A, the D, the C, the G. There's ways to kind of play around with all of these. But the one that I think gets ignored is the C. So I thought I would kind of talk about that. So if you think about a basic C chord, right? Nothing fancy. You probably know a basic C chord. Well, there's a pentatonic shape that goes with this, a C major pentatonic shape. And it's box 4, and maybe you've never thought about it this way before, so let me kind of run you through it. I'm going to start with this C here at the 3rd fret of the 5th string. It's going to have that note, the open A, the G down at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, the open E. That's going down from the C. As I go up, C, open D, E, which is obviously in the chord, open G, which again is in the chord, A at the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, C, which again is in the chord on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, the D at the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, the open E, which again is in the chord, and the G up top there at the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So all of those notes are valid options if you want to sort of embellish that C chord. Now, the theory alert here is I'm not going to really get too crazy into why you can use a C major pentatonic scale anytime you have a C chord. They go together. There's no situation where you could not play C major pentatonic over a C chord. It doesn't matter what the other chords in the progression are. It doesn't matter what the key is. That will work. A C major scale, which is a diatonic scale, that's not the case. You have to actually know how the chord functions, okay? Well, a lot of times we don't want to do the research. We don't want to do what it takes to analyze the chord progression, figure out how everything works, so we can use our major pentatonic scale. We get most of the notes, right? So we can do some kind of cool stuff. For example, I can lift up that middle finger, right? Well, if I lift that up, it gives me a D. Well, that's fine, because that's in the scale. So this is a really common move. 1 and 2 and, right? So I'm playing the C, open D, hammer onto E, strike the open G. And maybe I hit more. And it's a nice little variation that you can throw down there, right? Let me get rid of that overdrive. There we go. Right, I can get kind of a cool little sound there. I can use my middle finger right, if I hit the open G and the C together, and then maybe hammer on to the second fret A on the third string, I get a nice little move here if I put the two together. C, D hammers onto E, G, strike both the G and the C at the same time, do the hammer onto the A, back, and back to the E. And what's kind of cool about these is that I don't have to be super accurate. Right? I'm kind of just strumming the chord. I'm really not playing, I'm not being very careful. I can, and just hit the strings that I want, but I don't have to. And it usually sounds okay. You'll get some things, you might get a little of that. But if you go at a reasonable pace, it'll probably work out just fine. All right, I can add my pinky, right, to that D. It's not as common, but it's certainly a move that you can use, right? Now, what can be a little tricky is to think about how to do that if you change it. Okay, now, if you're not familiar with the idea of caged chords, C, A, G, E, and D, those are C, A, G, E, and D, right? Those are open position chords. They can be moved. But we have to have our first finger take the place of the nut, right? If I move these fingers up, it doesn't work out. However, if I change the fingering, if I add one to every finger, right? So right now it's finger 1, finger 2, finger 3. Make it finger 2, finger 3, finger 4. Now I have my first finger available. Slide up a fret, and my first finger goes into place. It acts like a capo, right? Same thing. So now I'm playing a C sharp, now I'm playing a D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Notice that I just played the same riff. Right, so the first thing to do is probably switch your fingers and see if you can play it, because that's kind of the first step. And then you can put it someplace else. Now what's going on there? Okay, well, the next chord is a D. Okay, so one of the most common things to do with a D is switch it to this idea here. Okay, so which is actually this just translated to a different string set. Okay, so if you think of a G chord, and again, this is going to be one that's really hard to play, but I'm going to show you how to kind of work around it, right? If I were to take this, I took a regular G, added one to every finger. If I slide up, I get this. But notice that that's really, really hard to play. Almost nobody plays this. This isn't something that you're gonna like strum or really work with very much. But if I get rid of the top string, it now is fairly straightforward. And I could use either those fingers or those fingers, whichever ones you want to do, right? Now, if I want to play a major pentatonic scale around this shape, it's box 1. Okay, so again, so now I can use any of these notes. And it's pretty unusual. People don't usually play the low string on this. So I'm actually doing the same riff, but I'm doing it on G. But if I take the low note out, it's the exact same thing. If I move that up, right, or I can, and I'm just kind of hitting extra notes. I can hit a bunch of them, and it's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. Right, and that starts to get, you probably heard that before, right? That's where that comes from. It's that using that box 1 as the basis of a major chord, of a G major chord. So therefore, that note there, right, I can just do these little, I've got all these little hammer-ons that I can do. What's that song? The Journey song. Or something like that. I forget how that goes, but that's exactly what it is. It's all that little motion right there. So I got a little carried away. I didn't want to necessarily get all the way crazy on that, but basically notice that I'm doing basically the same riff. Or I'm doing it here. And so that's where that riff from the weight comes from. So again, took away the lowest string. And depending on which version you hear, he plays more strings or less, is really all that boils down to. Sometimes he's and gets more of the strings in there. Sometimes it's very, just a single note. And so all this is, I'm grabbing on the 3rd and the 4th string, hammering on the 4th string. And then that there is just part of my D major chord. And there's just gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of fun little things that you can come up with. You just kind of have to know, okay, here's the pentatonic shape that goes there, and here's the chord that goes there, and just put the two together and kind of experiment with it. Again, there's so many little things that you'll probably run across when you start experimenting with this. Again, I've always called this Little Wing style playing, obviously, because it's, the song Little Wing has a lot of this type of thing in it, and it really takes it farther than a song like The Weight. But nonetheless, you can apply this style of playing, pretty much to anything. It really goes over almost anything. You find it all over the place. When you start to get used to looking for it and you start experimenting with it a little bit yourself, you'll see it everywhere. So I hope you have some fun with it. I hope that gives you some, food for thought right now, and something that you can play around with. As always, if you have guitar playing friends that you think might dig this video, please feel free to share it with them. Again, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.